Well, good evening, laddies, lasses, and lassos, and welcome to the click. You smell absolutely astounding today. And don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Today we're doing something absolutely beautiful. Have you ever had questions that you are simply too afraid to ask? Maybe because they're just a bit too intimate, they're a bit too awkward, or maybe they can be misinterpreted in some very offensive way. Well, today we are solving that problem with the help of the anonymity of the internet. We're gonna read through r/TooAfraidToAsk to ask the most inappropriate, awkward questions imaginable to get proper, anonymous answers from our friends online. Enjoy. Mwah.
Disclaimer.
Oh yeah, and also ignore that pile of plushies over there. I do not have a problem, trust me. r/TooAfraidToAsk. Do black people have darker dust in their homes than white people? Category: race and privilege. If dust is mostly made of dead skin cells, does it stand to reason that the dust produced by people with melanated skin would be darker in color than dust produced by light-skinned people? This is the kind of unhinged questions I would expect on a subreddit like this. Is there an answer on Google? Wait, maybe I can chat GPT this. Hold on. Hello, Mr. Chat. Is the dust produced by... Oh my god, I can't spell. Dust color is not determined by a person's skin color. The dust produced by human skin is primarily composed of dead skin cells, which are mostly colorless or light gray, regardless of a person's ethnicity. Other factors, such as environmental particles, clothing fibers, and household debris, influence the color of dust far more than a melanin content in skin. This video starts off great. We have solved racism. No matter where you come from or who you are, all our dust is equally sticky and gross. Oh, yes indeed. r/TooAfraidToAsk. If you filled your anal cavity with helium, would your farts sound higher pitched? Edit. Please don't try this at home, kids. I think there's a strong possibility that this would kill you. Fill your ass with a gas like this and fart it out, the fart should be lower or higher pitch because of the sound waves traveling faster or slower in the medium that you are currently farting out. So don't try this at home. I don't think it's particularly safe. But there you go. Man, this video is starting off great. We've already solved racism, and we got to talk about how frequencies change in different mediums. This is amazing. This is educational deluxe. r/TooAfraidToAsk. Why do so many Instagram models end up in Dubai? Just curious about this. I notice a lot of women who are known for their attractive looks are often seen in Dubai of all places. And I'm talking about women from all over. Europe, Americas, Asia. In my head, I'm just imagining a bunch of rich Arabs paying women to come hang out with them. Maybe more. But I didn't want to just pursue anything without asking. Escorting under the guise of influencer or model lifestyle. Be it for rich Arabs or top drug dealers on holiday or in exile. Wasn't this also like a big thing with Dan Bilzerian, for example, 10 years ago, when he would always post on Instagram and he would pay really good looking influencers to fly out and post in pictures and be on luxury yachts and that kind of stuff? So yeah, there's definitely a business aspect to this whole thing for sure. Why does my crotch set off the TSA's evil machine thing? You mean like the metal detector? Every single time I fly, going through the mysterious portal of evil the TSA makes you step through, it's like the dark portal in Warcraft, it flags my crotch. And I have to get a pat down. Pants with a zipper, no zipper, strings, no strings, doesn't matter. Every single time, something about my pee-pee and balls seem to pose a threat to aviation security. Maybe it's just so big and hard that they, mistake it for a sword or something, that's perfectly valid. It's kind of a compliment, isn't it? Ooh, shiny. And I have to stand there a while the TSA runs their hands across my genitals. I'm a normal 24-year-old man. Why is my pee-pee setting off the mechanism? I have scoliosis and am a female. Because of this, I have a hump on my back. My bra strap adjustment generally lies on the hump and causes it to stick out more. I have never once made it through the scanner without having to be patted down. I would say you must have a nice package that produces a bump bigger than the average. And it's also shiny. Yes, indeed. Everyone believes that you're packing a sword in your pants. This is a compliment, okay? Always trust TSA to increase your confidence. How do you ask a guy to nibble on your honkers in a ladylike fashion? This is like, it's like dating advice. All right, let's get into it, shall we? Help! I'm using Tinder currently to find a guy to nibble on my bobs only. I don't do full-on hookups and I'm on my period. How do I ask without coming all types of creepy? Here comes the airplane. Here comes the second one. The twins never stood a chance. This thread cannot get worse, right? Right? It's gonna be fine, isn't it?
Greetings and salutations, dear sir. I hope this missive finds you well. I suppose I should approach the point to which I am bound as frankly as possible. I would appreciate with ardor the boon of you placing your handsome mouth delicately upon my bosom, as though you were suckling babe. In honest terms, I'm interested not in copulation or other such things. My womanly cycle is at an unfavorably point for such activities to be comfortable in my eyes. However, it should please me greatly if you found yourself amenable to the oral handling of my upper feminine assets. If such diversions seem pleasing to you, I kindly respond with haste, for I am quite eager to hear from you. Yours truly, Ben in Love Kitty Cats.
The loneliness epidemic makes a lot of sense now, doesn't it? If I found 500k inside a cave, what are the chances I can just keep it and tell no one? A news article came out about someone that found a large amount of cash and told the police. The state kept it. I would definitely try to keep it a secret, but how? I don't want to go to jail, hypothetically. I'm just asking for a friend. Tell no one and never make big purchases that would require you to justify where the funds are coming from. Pay for gas and groceries and so on with that. Save up what you earn in your normal job and don't spend a dime from that. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, this is good, but I really need a house and they're pricey now. Yeah, but gas and groceries aren't cheap either. Saving for a house will go pretty quick once you pay most of your gas and groceries with your secret stash. This whole thread is just like asking for a friend. Oh yes, indeed. How do you bury a body so no one will find? I'm just asking for a friend who is a murderer. Since people with an ostomy bag don't poop with their butthole, does that mean they can have butt stuff without prep? I love that we're really getting into the important life questions here today. Oh God, I don't even know what tags to use. Questions that should not be asked, but for some reason we would all like to know. I was told not to do stuff like that when I had my colostomy. I don't think there is much left to be able to accommodate it. Pair that with the fact that I previously had an agonizingly painful cancerous tumor up there. Scarring, narrowing from radiation, and I don't even poop past it anymore, so it's going to stay narrow. It means it hurts to accommodate the doctor's fingers when he does an examination. That kind of stuff isn't happening. Honestly, what I appreciate about this video so far is that some of the questions are incredibly unhinged and something I would never expect to even ask or hear an answer to, but we are actually getting legitimate answers to most of them. This is astounding, apart from maybe like the bob nibbling one. That was a little bit out there. r/TooAfraidToAsk. Am I being groomed? Oh, it's one of these posts. Oh no, if that's the title, I would bet 99% that it's gonna be a yes. So I am 15F. He's in his 30s. Yeah, you're being groomed. Won't disclose his actual age for privacy reasons. He is super respectful and kind, and I have gotten no red flags from him. Like, I know the age gap ain't exactly good or legal, but he is so sweet and doesn't seem like he's talking to me just for my body. So I don't know if I should stop talking to him or not. Please be brutally honest. The answer is definitely yes, but I think it's worth discussing a bit because it's also important to be able to analyze these kind of things yourself for yourself and your friends' sake and people around you. For example, does this older person have friends around your age as well? Does he hang around 15-year-old boys, or does he see them as kids because he doesn't have anything in common with them? The answer is most likely yes. So if he doesn't see it as friends when he hangs out with 15-year-olds, what does he have in mind for you? The second point is that people who want to be controlling, for example, don't usually show all the red flags right off the bat, because otherwise you wouldn't let them in. He wants you to come to him for your dopamine fix. When he compliments you, he makes you feel good, and that makes you seek out his validation. It creates like a sort of dependency, and of course, like, he knows how to manipulate that because he has literally twice the life experience that you do, not to mention the legality aspects of it. This is really bad. Block this person right away. away. There is no good reason this person should talk to you unless it's like a completely different setting. Like, they're a heckin' teacher or something, but that has a completely different set of boundaries, okay? That is not for the same purpose, nor does it have the same vibe. Completely different stuff. Edit. Yes, he has sent me intimate pictures. Definitely a groomer. Yeah, this man is a predator, straight up. He's not even trying to hide it. I have told my mom. She doesn't really care. Your mom is also absolute trash. I came to Reddit because that's all I had. Update. Thank you to all the people that were genuinely worried and actually helped. I have blocked it and have deleted all his contacts. Unfortunately, I have no way to report him. I wish I could thank all of you so much. I appreciate it a lot. I'm really happy to hear the story had a happy ending and you're moving on and being safe. Stay safe out there. There is never a good reason to trust someone like this. This is a really big red flag, and anyone who is experiencing the same, make sure to stay safe, block them, don't engage with it, and tell a trusted adult. And if you can't trust your own parents, tell someone at school or someone else around you that you trust, or extended family or whatever it might be. Your silence also means that they gain more power. People like this love your silence. In fact, they will very often try to isolate you as well. They will be really pleasant and then be like, oh, isn't your mom kind of mean to you because she doesn't let you go out in the middle of the night to meet me? She seems controlling. I'll take you away and give you the world, that sort of stuff. But it's very much because they're trying to cut people off so they will have you to themselves. And once they have you to themselves, that's when they start being controlling and basically, or figuratively speaking, lock you in the basement. So these kind of people are not to be trusted. They are predators. r/TooAfraidToAsk. Is it normal to have a hairy shaft? I was about to do the deed for the first time tonight, but when I pulled it out, my girlfriend looked visibly shocked and asked, why is it all hairy like that? I looked it up, and apparently it's not normal to have your pubes continue all the way up your shaft. I know that's not what peepees in various films look like, but I thought they shaved them for the aesthetic reasons or something. Should I get this looked at? Edit. I'm not sending a photo because I'm a minor. That's probably a good idea even if you aren't a minor. As a straight man, this is the first time I felt the need to see another man's pee-pee. I'm assuming these comments were made before the edit, right? Just a little disclaimer. As a straight woman, this is the first time I've actually requested pee-pee pics. Okay, a couple of takeaways, all right? I think sex ed is always better than adult film, so to say. One is educational, the other one is a fantasy, all right? It's staged, just like movies, okay? There's a difference between going to a martial arts dojo and learning how to actually fight versus watching a superhero movie, right? Adult films are the superhero movies of MMA, that's sort of the comparison, right? And another thing, a more wholesome twist to this whole thing. When I was listening to a doctor that works with intimate parts and that kind of stuff, they said, if you think you have a weird pee-pee, you don't. And that's kind of wholesome, I think, because they come in so many different shape, sizes, and twists and turns and all kind of jazz. If you think something about it is weird, it probably isn't. Because man, there's so much variety out there. But if you're intrigued, feel free to look it up. I'm not a doctor, but you shouldn't feel insecure about it. r/TooAfraidToAsk. What do Americans mean when they say they live paycheck to paycheck? I am from a third world country, so I can't really grasp this when I look at the average consumption of Americans from charts and stuff. I like to browse our world in data and similar websites for fun. I understand the cost of living is higher in the US, which is why I will try to focus on actual consumptions of goods and services. There's just so much food and affordable, absolutely huge houses and 65% ownership rate. You guys apparently eat out every week, almost everyone has AC, mind-boggling levels of electricity consumption, half of Americans and 85% of teens have iPhones. That's my 3 to 4 month salary here, and I am well off relative to average persons. 75% have traveled abroad, and more guns than people. I suppose that is expensive too. Even the life expectancy thing seems to be more about social problems of drugs, guns, accidents, and obesity rather than healthcare. Financial Times did a post on this. I know this sounds like a salty rant from a third worlder, it kind of is, but I actually want to know what these charts and data are missing out on. Reading things is not a substitute for experiencing it. Yeah, living paycheck to paycheck basically means that you don't have anything left over by the end of the month, but I think discussions like this are also very interesting, and it depends a lot on where you live. I think one good descriptor was something like, one person was talking about, I make $50K a year, and I live like a king. And then someone replies, and they say yeah, but I live in this region, so half of my money is just rent, and I don't live like a king. And then another person is man, in the country where I came from, if I had $50K, I could buy my entire village. So It depends a lot on where you live and that sort of stuff. And I think it's also important to recognize that in places like the US, I think it has a pretty big income inequality compared to a lot of other places. And this is due to a bunch of different factors. I think some parts of it is like affordable education, affordable healthcare, those kind of things. For example, here where I come from in Sweden, education is free. You can go to uni and not pay a dime, which is kind of cool. In the US, that is very much not the case. So I think it depends a lot on who you're looking at, and just looking at like statistical averages very quickly gets skewed. You can have very large portions of the population that are on both ends of the spectrum, while the averages looks just kind of normal, you know? Did you cheat at your bachelorette or bachelor party? Oh god. I wrote early to another sub about where a lady told me she went to a hen party, and she witnessed the bride and several married women performing, certain things to strippers. Many years ago, while I was living in Utah, another lady told me she also witnessed this. My friend worked at a restaurant. She, along with her coworkers, went to Vegas, witnessed hens doing, oh dear god, at the bachelorette party. So this made me curious, and I searched bachelorette stripper cheating on YouTube, and even here, and oh boy, so many stories! On Reddit, you can search a post called, "I was a Scottsdale stripper, ask me anything." It is pretty darn vile, the women he has seen. Absolutely disgusting. Interesting thing, he also talked about a Utah girl that had an SO for 3.5 years that really gave it to him. Vile as poo. So, can you be honest? No one will know who you are. Did you cheat? A woman I used to work with cheated with a stripper at the bachelorette party. They began an affair after she got married. About 4 months later, they found out they were distant cousins. That is some kind of cosmic karma, man. My bachelor party was my best man taking me to a science museum, then back to his house for video games. The only smashing were the Smash Bros. He's not talking about the video game. I know one guy that absolutely did. His best man paid the strippers to do things. His new wife cheated on him while on their honeymoon, though. So it's all good. Oh my god, I guess scum just attracts other scum, doesn't it? These are people that never grow out of, like, high school drama. Jesus Christ, man. Ooh, I guess even I can answer this question, right? Because I am old enough now that I've actually been to a few different bachelor parties and actually one bachelorette party. Heck yeah. And the answer is, no. For one bachelor party, we went to a cabin in the woods with a lot of good food and a lot of alcohol and a lot of fun games and stuff. And then we played combat archery while drunk in the forest. That was really fun. Another one, we had a bunch of challenges around the city and activities for an entire day, and then ended off with a nice party at my place, actually. And then for the other one, we had some, like, a similar thing with a bunch of stuff planned and stuff, but no, we've never had any strippers at bachelor parties. I think that's like a bit of a meme, and I think certain groups of people play into that meme, which I don't really agree with. Oh my god, my last day as a free man. But you're not single, bro. You're getting married, but practically not that much is actually changing. You're already taken, okay? Like that attitude has always seemed really weird to me. If a schizophrenic person took a picture of a hallucination, would they still see it in the picture? This is kind of fascinating, actually. Because some people are misunderstanding my question, I meant, would the schizophrenic person's hallucination project them in the picture as well or not? I don't mean whether they can actually photograph the hallucination for someone else to see. I've heard some people say that it's a reality check they use, and it works, and I've heard others say it doesn't work for them. So I guess it just depends. I know it's different, but I have OCD and do this. For some reason, just having the image seems to make it click that I did correctly check stuff. No, they typically would not. This is also another reason some schizophrenic people have service dogs. If the person is hallucinating, they can check to see if their dog is reacting. If the dog doesn't react, it clues the person in that the thing they are seeing isn't real. What if the dog is an hallucination? Well, then you have two dogs, but you only need to feed one of them, probably the one that gets angry at you. Jesus Christ. I mean, this is hardly my area of expertise, but it perfectly makes sense with the service dog stuff, right? That is so sweet. I love dogs. They're amazing little beans. What am I supposed to do when I find my grandmother dead? I live with my almost 90-year-old Nana, and she is starting to noticeably decline. We don't know how much time is left. I want to be prepared for when she inevitably passes, but currently don't even have the slightest idea of what to do. 911 obviously is for emergencies, so would I call a funeral home then? What steps do you take to find a family member you live with dead? I found my mother dead. I called 911. They asked me whether there was any chance she was living and if I wanted to do a resuscitation. I said no. They asked a few more times. I learned afterwards they don't want family to have regrets and think, what if? In our case, my mom had been gone for quite some time. They sent a police officer out to check over the scene and make sure the death was natural. They will gather medication and ask some questions. They try to make it as quick and respectful as they can. They will ask whether you have a funeral home identified. I think my brother called, but honestly I don't remember. The funeral home will then come pick up your grandmother's body. You may have to do some cleanup and secure the house. Throw out food in the fridge, make sure laundry isn't sitting, etc. It's okay to talk about these things. We hide death as a culture, but it makes it hard when it happens to someone you love. I think this is one of those harsh reality aspects of the human condition, the stuff we don't really want to talk about in general because it's uncomfortable, but it's important to ask, especially if you're unsure about it. But it's also a commonly occurring thing because we are human after all. So it's nothing unusual and it's okay to ask, and the people that work with these kind of things are used to it and they want to help. Sometimes your stomach feels a certain way that you know if you tried to poo, it would be water out the butt. If you manage to sleep it off, pooping is normal the next day. How does this happen? There has to be some bad food for it to be flushed out without being digested, but sometimes it just turns into normal poop. How? Is it safe for long-term health? Body absorbs or redistributes the water content. That's why if you don't poo for a long time, it gets more solid or compact.
Ooh, or you can have like one of those fits from Dune, you know? But instead it's a tube into your butt that take care of all the good water.
Booyah, baby! A friend of mine is walking around her house in her panties in front of me. Was this a sign? I had spent the night in a guest room after drinking heavily with her the night before. She came out of her room that morning and we were talking, and she just paraded around in her cute little panties. We are really good friends, and I've had a crush on her, but I don't know if that was a sign that I missed. If you have a crush, you should probably close the loop. Tell her you are into her. When she is fully clothed in a third location, obviously. She is either into you or not into you, and that she doesn't even consider you someone who would want to see her in her underwear. At the very least, if she isn't into you at all, she will put on pants when around you and not inflict that type of torture on you. I might be a bit older than you, 33, and maybe it's some kind of generational thing, but I completely disagree with the guys telling you to wait for her to say she's into you. I have known women who were 100% into a guy and would never make the first move. But that being said, my fiancé asked me out, so really depends on the girl. I'm 55.
Bro, at your age, showing ankles is a sign, isn't it? There is no chill in this thread, man. Dear God.
Honestly, one thing I have learned in my many years on this planet and through my friends and people around me and that sort of experience is that people who are willing to make the first move are the ones who get lucky the most, because then you will 100% explore all the possibilities and all the potential crushes around you. It doesn't mean that you should pester every single person you bump into on the street, but if you aren't afraid to explore the possibility or potentially being shut down, it means that you won't leave the stones unturned, so to say. Because the truth is that no one really likes, on average, to make the first move, both men and women, and that means that a lot of crushes go unanswered, even if it is reciprocated, because none of the persons want to make the first move. So, yeah, she showed you her ankles, bro. Ask her out for a coffee or something. r/TooAfraidToAsk. Have I, 31M, overstepped my boundaries with this girl, 11F? I have a friend, 28F, that lives with her niece. On Friday, I was on my way to visit my friend at her place. I saw her niece with a man 40+. She didn't see me. When the niece came back, she lied and said that she was alone to my friend. I told my friend in private that she is lying and I saw her with a man. This is when I got alarmed, the fact that she lied about who she was with. Now, I have known them for over 3 years. The girl has always had a chip on her shoulder and she doesn't respect authority. I asked my friend if I can speak with her niece one-on-one. For more context, she is living away from her biological parents for reasons that I don't know. I went on Sunday morning to speak with the young girl. The conversation was all about how you should listen to adults, etc., etc. But as the conversation got more serious, she started joking and cracking jokes. I could tell that it was a coping mechanism to escape the tense situation. I assured her that I am not disappointed in her. I assured her that we, the adults in her life, are there to help her. Then I asked her, what is going on? Is there something that's making you angry? She broke down and cried. I gave her a hug and assured her that I'm here for her whatever she needs to talk. I didn't press her on what's going on.
Some guy saw what's going on, we were in public, and he called me a creep for hugging her as she was crying. Did I overstep any boundaries? I am a youth worker. Please keep a very close eye on this young girl. She is, by your description, seeking validation from older gentlemen. She is a statistic waiting to happen. You did the right thing offering her support. Please make sure you follow up with that offer. I would suggest finding a youth counselor service if it is available in your area. She needs trained assistance in processing whatever is going on. And yes, OP, hug her when she needs it. Every time. I think this kind of story is such a good contrast to the first one when it was like, ooh, this 30-plus man is reaching out to me for sassy reasons. This is when stuff is appropriate. It's okay to be there for young people that are struggling and making sure they have someone to come to when things is being scary or challenging or making them angry or they don't know who to reach out to. It's also important to get them the resources to process stuff they may have gone through, especially because it sounds like this girl has a very difficult family situation. There is a difference between being, for example, a teacher or a mentoring figure or something like that versus being a creep that is interested for completely different and abhorrent reasons, okay? And it's important not to conflate those two, and it's also important to be able to see through when someone is trying to use that as an excuse to conflate the two to get away with the first type of behavior. Why do girls nowadays tend to wear yoga pants that have a seam in the middle that separates their butt cracks? No judgment, just curious, because I would imagine I would feel uncomfortable having a permanent wedgie all day. Also, I would feel awkward and exposed if I, as a man, were to wear the pants that show the shape of my bulge. Just do it! Establish dominance in the gym! Don't women feel that way when it comes to these kind of yoga pants? I think it's just the trend at the moment, to be honest. Like, you had the Wonder Bra back in the day, you know? And if you look at, for example, early 2000s pop star and stuff, it was all about skinny, toned stomachs. And now it's about big butts, okay? All this kind of stuff goes in trends, and it's kind of fascinating when you, like, look at the history of it. So yeah, that's why, basically. And also, I suppose it depends on the clothing more specifically, but sometimes it's just, like, legitimately comfortable as well, because it's, like, soft fabric and stretchy and that kind of stuff. At least based on what I've heard. I don't usually rock these pants myself in the gym, sadly. Maybe I should start doing that. But yeah, that's basically it. r/TooAfraidToAsk. Is she really legal? I think if you have to ask these sort of questions, you're already in really murky territory. My online friend is F16 and lives in Belgium, where the age of consent is 16. For the past 6 months, she's been sending highly explicit pictures to a 27-year-old who lives in New York, where the age of consent is 17. Okay, so this dude is already breaking the law. Locally, where he lives, right? And I do believe that pictures of people under 18 is still very much illegal, even if the age of consent where they live happens to be 16, you know? Those are two very separate things. I live in Ireland, so I am unfamiliar with how the law works over there. I have tried to talk to her out of it, but she says it's fine and that he's not breaking any laws because she's legal. Where she lives, not where he lives. And also the pictures are a whole different... No, what are you doing? Stop! Is she still able to consent even though the laws are different? Is it considered CP? I mean, yes. That's basically what it is, yeah. Edit. A lot of you guys said to leave a tip on the FBI tip website, and that's what I did. I left as much information as I could find. Here in Sweden, the age of consent is 15, but any not safe for work picture of them is illegal until the person is 18. Now, the law won't go after two 15-year-olds sending pictures of each other, but it will if the other person is an adult. Your friend's love interest in New York is most certainly in possession of CP. That seems to be the case for most places, thanks for the info. Even if you can send pictures as a 15-year-old to adults, that only applies if both of them are in the same area. If the AOC is 18, including sending pictures somewhere else, it's still CP. OP, report the fricker! If he gets caught with it in New York, Belgian rules don't matter, and he's a predator. 100% illegal, dude is a predator. And also another aspect to this, if he's a 27-year-old that goes to Discord to seek out intimate photos of 17-year-olds, he's probably doing this to more people than just, like, your friend. And I wonder what sort of ages they are, you know? With people like this, if they're willing to cross boundaries this hard, especially when it goes to illegal territory, they typically don't stop. You know, this isn't a boundary for them. So this is definitely someone you should report, okay? Is using "you are good looking" for an Indian racist? So I was having a conversation with my Russian colleague, who is also my crush. Between the conversation, I casually told her she is good looking. And in response, she told me that "you are good looking for an Indian guy." I was shocked to hear that from her, but I just ignored it and continued our conversation. Is my crush secretly a racist? She is Russian, by the way. You're looking good for a blank is always an insult. Doesn't matter what fills the blank in. You're pretty ugly for a blank is also an insult. I'm gonna be honest, any sentence you say to someone where it's like, you're pretty blank for a blank, it's probably a bad thing, no matter the context. It's just like the category of bad can vary a bit. How are people struggling to live on 100k a year? I live just outside of Vancouver, BC, one of the more expensive places in Canada. I make around 70k a year and I am doing fine. I live fairly frugal, but I still buy healthy food, spend money on my hobbies, and travel once a year. I see single people on Reddit all the time complain that they struggle to live paycheck to paycheck on 100k. How is this possible? I understand that 100k is not what it used to be, but it's still a decent amount to live comfortably, even in more expensive places. 100k in Germany would mean a really decent and quite fancy life with vacation, nice cars, and a house. 100k in Switzerland would probably mean you own the biggest cardboard box under Zurich's most beautiful bridge. 100k in India would mean that you may consider buying the whole state of Gujarat. So it's really a thing about perspective. Also, personal finances and what you require varies a lot from person to person. For example, here where I come from, we have a saying that basically means double income, zero kids, right? Because this usually means that you have enough money to working people, unless you live in a super duper expensive place, to basically do most of the things that you want, right? Once you have kids, stuff gets way more expensive. If you also have a mortgage and maybe pets on top of that, multiple cars, etc., all of a sudden 100k is gonna go real fast. And of course, that's not even mentioning region or country or currency exchanges or whatever you might have, right? So it varies a lot, but yeah, things are definitely getting more expensive. It is a pain. Well, laddies, lasses, and lassos, I do hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed having you here, and some of your deepest, darkest questions were answered indeed. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day because you do deserve it, and I will see you again in the very near future. Take care. Mwah.